Welcome everyone to another episode of Food Friday and another Food Friday where we go over protein. However, this time it's going to be a little bit different because I appreciate that last time probably was a little bit boring, and this time I want to go over some actionable steps and make it a little bit more relevant for someone like me, myself, right? So I'm talking to, I'm not just talking from boring slides. I'm actually showing you what I would physically do if I was to increase my protein intake or what I have done to get to where I am now where I have increased my protein intake. Sorry, let me just get that off the screen. Okay, cool. So, how would I go about increasing my protein intake? So, first of all, I want to establish is high protein foods or some good foods just to have in your locker. So then if they're in the fridge, you'll go into them if you are feeling a bit peckish, if you are snacking, they're the foods that you want to be surrounded by if you were looking at protein. So things like Greek yogurt, chicken, beef, fish, eggs, like we know all of this. And if you watched the protein slides from 2 weeks ago, then you would know all the good sources of protein and what food to get it from. I'm not sure if you're able to hear, but it sounds like my laptop's going to explode. Might be time for an investment to upgrade, but we'll see. Obviously, you've got protein shakes as well. Not necessary. We always go for a food first approach. So we want all of our protein to be coming from food. And then obviously things like nuts as well. Not only are you getting protein, but also fats. But they're a good snacking option. Thing with nuts though, you have to be very careful because they are also very high in calories. So with the nuts, just be cautious. Protein shakes, let's go for a food first approach. And then, if the food is not getting you where it needs to be, then we look at protein shakes. But I'm going to show you exactly how I go about it with just these things just on this list: Greek yogurt, chicken, beef, fish, eggs. So, how much protein do you need? Very quickly. So for the average person, 1.2 grams per kg of body weight, which is this one here. So literally, all you would do is 1.2 times whatever your body weight is. So for someone like me, I'm 93 kg at the minute. So it's 1.2 times 93, and that gives me 111. So I've just rounded it up for argument's sake. I've rounded up to 120, just so it's nice and easy. It's a round number, but just for our what our kind of macros should look like. So if you've worked out that 1.2 times your body weight is 111 grams of protein, times that by four is because we have 4 calories per gram of protein. So that would be 446. So that's how many calories per day should be contributed to protein. We know that about 50% more or less should come from carbohydrates. So if my daily intake is 2000, then obviously I divide that by two. That gives me 1,000 calories of carbs. And then if I divide that by four, then I'll have 250 grams of carbs available. And then you kind of reverse engineer that. You add the calories together from the carbs and the protein. Take it away from 2000, which is how many calories you're having for the day, which will leave you with 554. Divide that by nine because there's 9 calories for each gram of fat. And then that would mean that we would have an allowance of 61 grams of fat. So that would be an easy way just to work out what your macros is. And then to also have a look at 20, about 20% plus should be from protein, around 30% for fats, and around 50% for carbohydrates. So that's how I would go about kind of mapping my day. But again, we're only focused on protein. Anyone that's inside the group, if you're listening over this and you want to speak more about it, then obviously just pop it in the group or send me a message directly if any of that was confusing, or if you'd like me to go over that a little bit more. If you're someone that's watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast, I don't know how much of a good podcast this is going to be because it's a little bit more interactive, but if you've got any questions, then fire them away. So yeah, anyways, 1.2 times 93 is 111 grams of protein, which is what we're aiming for. So to actually just go over some of the food groups, so for 100 grams of chicken, we're looking at around 25 grams to 30 grams of protein, right? Um, so to kind of fulfill your day, you'd be looking at 400 grams of chicken, but no one's just going to be sitting there eating 400 grams of chicken a day, right? That's just not going to happen. So we need to look at other food sources and other times of the day because when we typically think of chicken, we think of maybe lunch and dinner. We don't think about breakfast. So breakfast, what are we thinking of? We're thinking maybe eggs. So now we need to consider, how many eggs we having in the morning. So for someone like me, I might have three or four But if we go for three eggs, there's typically about 6 grams of protein per egg. So if I'm having three, let's just say for argument's sake, again, none of these numbers are exact, but they're just round to give us an idea. If I was to have three eggs a day, then I'd be getting my 18 grams of protein. And then at the end of the day, I like to give myself a little bit of a treat. So Greek yogurt is like my favorite thing at the end of the day. It's kind of that whole sensation of having like a chocolate mousse or having that yogurt at the end of the day. It's just a nice way to kind of wind down. So I know that I'm going to have my Greek yogurt at the end of the day, and I know that I'm going to have my eggs at the start of the day. So if we know that they're staples and we've got our 18 grams of protein from that, and then our Greek yogurt, so I would typically go for 150 grams, which would be 15 grams of protein. Um, we can then add those together. So we've got our three eggs, which is 18, Greek yogurt, which is 15, and that gives us 33 grams of protein. So obviously we've got 120 to fill for the day. So what we're going to do is take 33 away from 120, and that means that we have 87 grams of protein left for the day. So what do we do? How do we, oh my God, that's like so much. I've already had three eggs, I've already had 150 grams of Greek yogurt. What the hell am I going to do? So again, we just reverse engineer. So let's again, just for math's sake, let's just say it's 90 grams left that you need to eat for the day. That's about 300 grams of chicken or two and a half chicken breasts, right? And although that sounds like absolutely absurd, it sounds crazy, it's not actually a lot when you think about it. You know, you could be having one chicken breast for lunch and then one and a half chicken breasts for dinner. You could be having, and it doesn't have to be chicken, right? So you can swap the chicken out for fish or beef. And the protein contents are fairly similar. They're within the range of 25 to 30 grams per 100 grams, right? So the math is pretty much the same. Obviously, we just have to be careful with the weigh-in, but it's per 100 grams, it's about 25 to 30 grams as well. So maybe it's, um, maybe it's a bit of salmon at lunch, and then it's a chicken breast for dinner. And then after your dinner, you have your Greek yogurt. Very quickly you start to accumulate this protein. And again, I think this is like maybe some of you might struggle with this, or maybe some of you might not find it a very simple system. And that's okay because, there's not one answer to everything. And, everyone works in different ways. But I just found that this was a really easy way for me to map out my day and actually structure what my protein looks like and what my meals look like, more importantly, because without a plan, that's when we start to go into snacking. That's when we start to reach for all the bad stuff because we haven't actually had a plan of what we're eating for the day. So if you can plan something like this, um, then not only will your routine and structure become a lot more solid, but you know that you'll be getting your protein in. And what's the benefits of that? Knowing that you've got enough protein, will actually help you to stop the snacking because you're going to be feeling fuller for longer. It's going to give you adequate amounts of protein to be able to recover from your workouts. And it's just a little bit of a better balance overall. And the more protein that we have, the less likely you're probably going to go for the fats and carbs, which is just going to help with overall diet. So high protein diet is going to be quite good. Is 1.2 grams per kg of body weight high protein? Probably not. But it's a good place to start, especially if you're not getting it anywhere near that. So actionable steps to take when you watch this: get your body weight, times it by 1.2. That's your protein. Think about your sources of protein are Greek yogurts, chicken, beef, fish, eggs in your list. And, if you're someone that doesn't have that, obviously I appreciate not everyone has, if you're vegetarian, then obviously chicken, beef, fish would be on there. But obviously you would substitute that chicken for tofu. Or if you were a vegan, then you wouldn't have the option of eggs. Then you'd be able to substitute it for something else. If it's not chicken and beef, then it might be tofu. If it's not eggs, then it could be another alternative. So, whatever your alternative is, respectively, if you've picked that diet, then you know what your alternative is. Then just reverse engineer your calories. And that is how I would go about increasing my protein. And that's exactly what I do, by the way. Like, this is literally how I structure my day, and it is exactly how I hit my protein intake. Eggs in the morning, Greek yogurt at night, good routine. And then whatever's in between, I know that I need to have for my lunch and dinner. And then I just split it up between the boxes when I do meal prep. So hopefully that is useful. I don't want this to go on for too long. If you do have any questions, then throw it in the chat. But that is Food Friday today, and hopefully some insight on how to increase your protein intake. Thank you all for watching, and let me know what you think about this type of episode where we use like a whiteboard and we talk about things. Thanks.